Ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew, we have to talk about this because in 2024, Gervonta Tank Davis is going to make a huge impact. Now, I know some of you are not going to like this, but we have to look at things from both sides of the spectrum. And I mean both sides. One side is the sport of boxing. The other side is the business of boxing. And we know that I represent both sides. Now, on the side of the sport of boxing, of course, Devin Haney would be a good fight. Teofimo Lopez, good fight. Cruz, good fight. Shakur Stevenson, good fight. Frank Martin, add him to the sweepstakes, good fight. Hey, if Regis Prograis beat Devin Haney next month at 140, add him to the sweepstakes as well. Good fight. All of these fights versus Gervonta Tank Davis are good fights. And I believe that all of those fights will be competitive fights against Gervonta Tank Davis. On the business side of it, though, there's only two fighters out of that equation of fighters that I think would make good business sense. That is Teofimo Lopez and Cruz. And the reason why I say some of y'all are not going to like it is because most hardcore fans and some casual fans don't want to see another fight between Gervonta Davis and Cruz. From a business perspective, though, it makes good sense. And I'm going to tell you why. Well, remember the last time we all saw Cruz compete in the ring was on the undercard of Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford. And of course, most people that were there live spectating, and even most people watching it live on pay-per-view, believe that Cruz lost that fight. Very controversial decision. Believe that Cruz walked away with a good cooked meal by the judges. Needless to say, that's the last time we saw Cruz, in July of this year. So in 2024, it'll be a good fight for him, good payday for him with regards to him fighting Gervonta Davis. We got to always put this in perspective. And you've heard me say this thousands and thousands of times, live and even in published content, that when you put African-American fighters against fighters who are of other ethnic groups and other cultures and other races, it generates the most revenue. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at Gervonta Tank Davis's record. Look at the list of opponents he fought since he's been under the Floyd Mayweather, Al Haymon, PBC blueprint. I mean, it's very clearly evident what the blueprint is. Gervonta Davis don't generate a lot of revenue fighting other black and or African-American fighters. In fact, when the last time you ever seen him in the last several years compete against a black or an African American fighter. It's business. I'm not talking about the sport of boxing. I'm talking about the other equation, the business of boxing. So that's why it will make a lot of good business sense for him to fight Shakur Cruz. Shakur Cruz has a country behind him. He has a huge following. He's one of the only two fighters that went the entire distance with Gervonta Davis without getting knocked out. And of course, Gervonta was suffering a hand injury, but the bottom line is Shakur Cruz did a good job with pressuring Gervonta, something that we haven't seen Tank get in a while, pressured, right? And of course, Tank did a wonderful job outboxing him, coming out with the win. But from a business aspect, the rematch will be more easier to market it because Shakur didn't get knocked out, because he didn't even get knocked down, which most people get knocked down and or knocked out by Tank. And he went the entire distance with Tank and was pressuring Tank, and he looked successful from the untrained natural eye, right? So it's a marketable fight. Money-wise, I'm talking about generating revenue now on pay-per-view. Now look at Shakur Cruz's last several fights after he fought Tank. He's been basically on at least two cards that had the pay-per-view headline. Now, he wasn't the headliner, but he was on the undercards of pay-per-view headlines. That's a clear indication that the promoter is moving that fighter into the transition to become a headliner for a pay-per-view, which he already was. And of course, that was a last-minute replacement opportunity for Shakur Cruz when he fought Tank. So from the business aspect of the equation, Shakur Cruz is a notable opponent for Tank Davis. And I know some of y'all going to get mad that I say that, but you got to understand the dynamics involved with regards to business. Teofimo Lopez, another reputable opponent. He's saying he want to retire one day. The next day he's saying he's not. He gets in one fight and looks impressive. The next fight, he gets knocked down. Doesn't look that impressive. Some people thought that he came out with a home-cooked meal back in December of 2022 when he fought Martin, but he came back, and of course he won another title. That's a marketable fight. Very easy to market to the general casual boxing fan base. Not only that, you know, Teofimo and his dad, they're both very outspoken. So that builds a great opportunity to have more fans be galvanized by tuning in, because you know it's going to be a back and forth verbal war between the Lopezes and Tank Davis. Calvin Ford is very outspoken, not as much as Tank, but I mean, can you imagine all four of those guys sitting at a press conference talking trash at each other? Oh man, war of words. And that's the type of atmosphere that boxing fans want to see as the appetizer for a big fight that's going to generate a lot of revenue. And that has put it in perspective. Teofimo Lopez is non-black, non-African American. He also has a substantial amount of followers with regards to showing up and supporting him at his events and selling tickets. Now, of course, he haven't fought in a big arena, so to speak, such as a Tank Davis, but hey, neither did the rest of the fighters on the other side of the equation that I just spoke of. But those two non-African American fighters have a good fan base, and they are marketable. And I'm talking about Teofimo and Shakur Cruz. So We look forward to seeing what Tank Davis is going to do in 2024. I think he's going to come and make a huge mark in 2024 under the PBC banner. And I think that his opponent selection is going to be critical because all eyes are watching him right now, because the question becomes, who's next? Of course, him and Devin Haney, they have a long history of bad blood. We love to see that fight from a boxing sport standpoint and perspective. He sparred Shakur Stevenson in Shakur's younger days as a pro. So we would love to see that fight as well. Great opponents for Tank Davis coming up in 2024. We need to know what you have to say about it. You, the fan base, you. Tune in live and live in color, as we're going to go live and we're going to actually expound more on this topic. But before we do that, please feel free to go into the comment section below and tell me what you think about what's next and or who's next for Gervonta Tank Davis. You know, I'm doing way too much talking. Don't take my word for it. Roll the tape.